I wanted to show in this painting Martin standing behind the barbed wire fence. Of course, he's got the striped prisoner uniform on, but I wanted to show as an artist the glimmer of hope, still life in his eyes. And if you notice closely, there is a glimmer of hope. He's looking up, which is something that he mentioned over and over. He always had hope that he would survive.
But that moment when I was liberated, it's still in my mind to this day. And that was the happiest time of my entire life. Of course, you know, when no food is given and you're under a guard, you somehow, you don't totally forget, but you just try to exist, try to live and hope that things will at some point get better. And that was the moment when I saw the British Army come in. And of course, from then on, I was in the cellar, recovering, and things begin to slowly come back to normalcy. Of course, it took a while because I remember getting up a number of times during the night and like all sweated up and having some nightmares of sort until but I realized that after this was over that there's nothing I can do to change things, what took place. And I have to look ahead in the future. And no matter how hard and how tough things were, if you wanted to live, you make your mind up to live.
Martin told us in the interviews that after he came to the United States, he got a personalized invitation from Uncle Sam, and that he was really happy about it because he was proud to be a soldier, and that's the title of this photograph. He was so proud after all that he had been through, after having been rescued and liberated, to actually come to America and be a soldier for that same country.
I was in the Army for 2 years. I tried to be a good soldier, and I was very proud to be in the United States Army. To this day, I still am. I felt like I did something in return for the United States that came to this country. So many people don't realize, take things for granted as to, we're very fortunate in this country. We should be very glad and happy that this country has a freedom of religion, a freedom of what you think, and you're not being persecuted for your beliefs and your religion, and it's a wonderful country. And only people who can really appreciate it the fullest is people who have not had this.
It was very difficult for Jack to be a child in the public school system, and this was a story that he tells, and it occurred before Hitler became chancellor. So he talks about the teachers and how he felt they were Nazi, and they were planting these seeds of hate in young children's minds.
Well, as I have said many a times, the German poetry is full of anti-Semitic parts. This one was done by Friedrich Rückert and was called about a tree which wanted to change its leaf, and it prayed to God, and God gave it golden leaves, and yet a bad Jew went through the forest at night with a long beard and a big sack, and he took all the golden leaves and left the tree stand bare. And at the time when I went to school, we had, of course, already a lot of anti-Semitic teachers, and it was his pride to make me repeat this stance as often as possible. It was a complete turnover. About 2 years prior, they all came to my birthday party, and we all had a good time. And all of a sudden, about 2 years prior to Hitler becoming chancellor, nobody wanted to talk to me anymore. So I used to eat during a break in school. I used to stand there all by myself, eat my sandwich, and the other kids didn't want to bother.
One of the most remarkable stories that Jack told us was about running to the fence and how many camp prisoners would commit suicide by just running to the electrical fence and electrocuting themselves, because that was better than continuing to live the way that they had. And it seemed to be images, as I'm sure all images did, but these images in particular seemed to stand out to Jack in his memory, because he told us these stories many times, just about the things he had seen and how horrible it was, and the figures on the fence and then on the ground for several days, where the Nazis would leave them after they turned off the fence just to make a point.
When I reflect back, I think of all the people that I used to know. I see them all alive. I don't see no more dead people. I don't want to see them. I've seen them, but I don't want to see them. I want to see, I shouldn't say the better aspect. How can you say the better aspect? But I want to see things I do want to see. I don't want to see the misery. I don't want to see them like my best friend dying. He looked like a spread, thin, emaciated, dying from hunger. I don't want to see this. I saw him. I couldn't help him. He begged me for a piece of bread. I didn't have it to give.